It is uncommon for a ship's crew to have completely vanished without any sign of struggle or peril, and for the ship to be able to continue on adrift in near-perfect condition. For over 150 years, the Mary Celeste has drifted through the fog of maritime lore. An abandoned ship found eerily intact. The sails were damaged. Those that were up and had not been furled were damaged. Aside from that, there was no real structural damage to the boat. Its crew vanished without a trace. No signs of struggle, no distress call, and a cargo of alcohol sealed in silence. Theories bloomed like barnacles: pirates, mutiny, ghosts, sea monsters. None ever stuck. At some point, they decided to open the hatches and let the fumes of this leaking alcohol escape. But now in 2025, scientists say the mystery is no longer a mystery at all. What they've uncovered is chilling, conclusive, and absolutely real. The final hours of the Mary Celeste have been reconstructed, and the truth is far darker than any sailor's tale. This changes everything. Let's take a look at how the Mary Celeste mystery was finally solved. A ship adrift. A crew vanished. On December 4, 1872, the British brigantine Dei Gratia encountered a strange sight near the Azores. About 400 m east of the islands, a ship drifted under partial sail, appearing lifeless. Her name, Mary Celeste. Captain David Mohouse, suspicious of the vessel's erratic path and lack of visible crew, sent a boarding party. What they found would ignite one of the greatest maritime mysteries in history. The Mary Celeste was in navigable condition. She hadn't been struck by a storm. The hull was intact. Her cargo of 171 barrels of industrial alcohol remained untouched. The galley was stocked. Clothes were still neatly stored. Yet, the crew was gone. Not a soul remained on board. There were no signs of violence or piracy. The only thing missing was the ship's single lifeboat. The ship's log had last been updated 10 days earlier on November 25, placing the Mary Celeste near Santa Maria Island. That entry did not indicate impending trouble. The weather at the time had been relatively calm. The vessel should have been well on her way to Genoa, Italy. Instead, she was a ghost ship drifting aimlessly. The salvage crew that brought the Mary Celeste to Gibraltar found the experience deeply unsettling. Sailors, especially those hardened by the sea, are not easily rattled. Yet, multiple men described a strange, uneasy aura aboard the empty brig. The lifeboat had been cleanly detached, not hastily slashed away, suggesting a deliberate evacuation. But why? Why would an experienced captain like Benjamin Briggs abandon a perfectly functional vessel in the middle of the ocean? No bodies were ever recovered. No wreckage from the lifeboat washed ashore. No survivors came forward. The hearing at Gibraltar produced no clear answers, only more confusion. And so the Mary Celeste became legend. Her story passed down, embellished, doubted, and obsessed over until 2025. It remained just that, a story. The people on board also became part of the legend, but never truly understood. The people on board. The Mary Celeste was more than a merchant brig. She was a floating home to 10 souls, each of whom vanished without a trace. To understand the magnitude of the mystery, you have to understand who was lost. These weren't reckless men or desperate travelers. They were experienced seafarers and a tight-knit family who had no reason to flee and every reason to make it home. At the helm was Captain Benjamin Briggs, 37, a seasoned sailor from Massachusetts. By all accounts, he was level-headed, disciplined, and deeply religious. A lifelong mariner, he'd earned a reputation as cautious, competent, and moral. Traits that didn't align with panic or irrational decisions. This voyage was special. Briggs had brought along his wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia. It was supposed to be a routine trip across the Atlantic to Genoa, Italy. Sarah Briggs, in her early 30s, was known as calm and capable. She had sailed with her husband before and was comfortable at sea. Her presence, along with that of toddler Sophia, gave the voyage a familiar warmth. Toys were later found scattered in the captain's cabin, ghostly reminders of a child who never made it to shore. The crew numbered 7. First mate Albert Richardson was handpicked by Briggs and had previously sailed with him. Second mate Andrew Gilling was young but promising with Danish heritage and New York roots. Edward Head the steward managed the food and domestic needs of the ship. The remaining 4 were German deckhands brothers Volker and Ari Martins and sailors Arian Lauren and Getortel Goodshad. All were in their 20s and selected for their skill and dependability. Briggs didn't hire lightly. His selection of crew reveals a man who trusted competence and character. Letters written before departure suggest excitement, not dread. "Our vessel is in beautiful trim," Briggs wrote to his mother. "And I hope we shall have a fine passage." He even left his son Arthur behind with family, expecting to return safely. So why would this captain, his wife, his daughter, and an experienced crew vanish without so much as a distress signal? Why were their clothes, pipes, letters, and journals left behind? Why no signs of struggle or disorder? Whatever drove them from the ship, it happened quickly. The kind of decision that comes not from deliberation, but from fear. And that fear, as we now believe, had a very specific trigger. Rumors and conspiracy theories have always surrounded the Mary Celeste, making it hard to decipher the legitimate theories from the red herrings. Theories, rumors, and red herrings. The disappearance of the Mary Celeste's crew became an immediate obsession for maritime investigators, newspaper editors, and armchair theorists alike. A ship found intact, seaworthy, and provisioned, yet utterly abandoned. It begged for an explanation, and over the decades, countless were offered, ranging from the plausible to the absurd. The first and most predictable theory: piracy. The Atlantic wasn't immune to raiders, and a valuable cargo of industrial alcohol might have been tempting, but this theory collapsed on inspection. The alcohol barrels were still there, untouched. The crew's possessions, including valuables, remained on board. Pirates don't leave behind loot. They also don't vanish bodies without a trace.